the forecast from the National Weather Service, we are looking at more possible burn scar flooding over the next couple of days. We're actively in recovery operations, but we're doing this intermittent response as we go through monsoon season. So as we're moving through the recovery process, we're also dealing with response operations as they come with each flooding event. And so it just takes one cell and one bad location to produce floods like what we saw earlier this week. So we are keeping and mobilizing swiftwater resources that are staying in the region. Our partners with the Department of Homeland Security, Emergency Management, New Mexico National Guard are keeping their pre-positioned resources so we can address those needs, along with our Ruidoso Fire Department for any future impacts we may see. Ongoing recovery operations, we have seen an increase of impacted structures over the last 24 hours or since yesterday's briefing. I'll have Mike talk about that here in a second. We're doing our PDAs, or our primary damage assessments, as of this moment. So those numbers will fluctuate between now and probably the next time we will give a briefing. We'll make sure public information has that information so our partners with the media can have that information. With that said, I want to reiterate what the mayor said. We do have an EOC hotline open for any impacted residents within the village of Ruidoso. That's 575-258-6901. If you have any unmet needs, make sure you call that number. We'll work on getting those appropriate resources to the people that have been impacted. For folks that are wanting to donate, we saw this last year during the fires. Southern New Mexico and New Mexico is really great about sharing resources and sending their help this way. We want to make sure that those resources are getting into the appropriate hands. So we have a donation reception center. If you want to donate, you can donate to the donation reception center. This is a reception center. This is not a distribution point. It's going to be at the Lincoln County Humane Society on US 70. We are taking all types of donations with the exception of used clothing. Let me reiterate, used clothing we will not be taking in. If you have a new pair of socks, new pair of jeans, we will happily accept that. But if you have used clothing, we will not accept that at this time. If that changes, we'll let y'all know. The other thing that we want to reiterate is our partner at the Community Foundation of Lincoln County will be taking all monetary donations for this disaster and will divvy it up towards the organizations and individuals needing assistance. So again, the Foundation of Lincoln County, please push that money so we can get those out into the correct hands. So I want to turn it over to Mike to talk about the impacted structures at this time.
Good morning, everybody. Michael Martinez, Deputy Village Manager. So as the mayor mentioned, we are closing Village Hall. The main reason behind that, is Eric's point, is we're doing damage assessments in the field. Initially, we gave numbers of anywhere between 30 to 50 homes that had been impacted. Based on last night's and yesterday's assessments, along with the phone calls that we're receiving for sheltering or for possible a lack of homes, we're looking now to 200 up to 400 homes that have been damaged. With those homes that are being damaged, most of our teams that are doing construction, the permits, that are doing reviews, are actually in the fields assisting. So you will not be able to get to them to request a building permit. What we are going to be doing is saying anybody that is doing work on your property, whether it's cleanup, whether it's trying to rebuild, stop before you do that. Let us know. Call that number that both the mayor and Eric had given you. We need to make sure we walk you through what's called substantial damage. We need to identify what that number is so that we can help you build back appropriately and possibly get qualified for funds that will be able to help you moving down in the future, in the immediate future. So please, please, please let us know. Call that number. We'll have a specialist on the line that can be able to address those calls you'll get transferred to them. But we are looking at between 200 to 400 homes that have possibly been impacted. We have a significant number of those that might be secondary homes. We don't know yet, but we do have a number of families that have been impacted, possibly up to 100 and 150 families that we're currently tracking. So those are all the items that we're addressing on housing and on home structures, as well as families that have been impacted to date.
You have something?
No, I'm going to go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Ron Senna, Village Manager. Our public works crews are working around the clock. As the mayor stated, we do have water services that are out in certain areas of the village. We have our public works crews out blading roadways, assessing any type of all our bridges, any type of low water crossings. And we will provide the information once with our PIO. We're putting out all the information. We're doing that. I mean, it's constantly that our public information officers are sending out that information. So we are working hard. We're working around the clock. Crews they understand the urgency of getting the utilities back on, and we will continue to work hard on it to provide the water. As the mayor stated, also, we have the distribution points to provide water. They can call the number, the EOC number, and if we need to, meet somebody there or just be able to help out anybody, we're here to work and assist the village in any manner. So thank you.
So I hope that people understand that while the village is still carrying on current operations, trash pickup, keeping the streets clean, answering the phones, providing water, that we have had a disaster. So a lot of those things have been impacted. So those same people are now in the field doing assessments, repair work. The folks that are at Village Hall that have regular jobs, whether it's in planning and zoning, looking at your construction needs, when you're going to start, those people are helping assess the folks that need a roof over their head. That we need the assessment on the damage, that we accumulate all of these expenses that we turn in for our declaration. Which last night the governor was here. She'll be here shortly. The Congresswoman Melanie Stansberry was here. We had long discussions. We reached out and spoke with Christy Nome, Secretary Nome of Homeland Security, on the funding that we had been promised before that we haven't been able to get access to. We were told that that funding was coming today. Also that the presidential declaration, they saw no hurdles with that should be signed for parts A and B. That changes everything. That opens up federal assistance. So we're working on those things as we speak. Who? Okay. So what we wanted to do was let you know where we're at. Things have changed. After yesterday, it became very apparent that there was a lot more damage than what we had assumed and what we thought in the beginning. And so those things have come in the door. We've had to take a setback to move forward. So we ask for your patience. If you're without water, please go to one of the areas that we mentioned before for potable water. We will have a lot more water any minute that's coming in, and later this day, we'll be standing up other resources. If you need a place to go, the community center is ready. In the village, we have the community center in the Downs is ready. Lutheran Church is ready. And we're standing these things up as we go, because before we thought that there were 30 to 40 homes impacted. The folks that were coming in for immediate help were few, and now then there's many. So it sounds like the one, the only, let me hang on just a minute. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham and Congresswoman Melanie Stansberry. Then we have Lieutenant Governor. How are you doing, Howie? Very good to see you. Then Congressman Gabe Vasquez. So welcome, everybody. Governor, would you... Before I wanted to introduce, if you can just a minute, our County Commissioner Chairman. I promised him I was going to let him say something today. So do you want... I should let you introduce the governor.
Well, it's too late there, but all I wanted to say... All I wanted, I'm going to use this too.
God love you.
All I wanted to say was that Ruidoso, the village, the Downs, is our community too. And it's inside the county. And there's been quite a bit of damage outside the confines of Ruidoso. This is an ongoing event, but you can see here that we've got all the county commissioners here. They're engaged. They're in supporting hand in glove the village and the Downs, and our sheriff is here as well. You know, that first night, the sheriff called out every deputy he has, and we had over, I think, 20, 25 deputies assisting in the search and rescue of people during this disaster. So the county is here. We can continue to work with the mayor, and Jason Burns, our county manager, is here as well. We thank you for your support and your help going forward. And Madam Governor, I didn't disturb your platform there. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
You got it. I was just happy that someone else was willing to stand up on a box
I'm
to
going to
see.
use that in the future. Thank you.
I'm actually going to start with that. To this community, maybe a couple of folks who were all suffering, and no one like the people who live here and their families. But smiles and a set of, that confidence that we're all going to get this done together goes a long way. And I think it really does continue to do what you're doing, which is lifting up this community and every single person who lives here, nearby, or even if you live in Santa Fe, families who are here. And we depend on this community for so much of the benefits for the entire state. So that's number one. This community does more over and over and over again than most communities because of the hardships that have befallen from both Salt Fire, South Fork, and the resulting flooding. And what happens in this cycle, it's a terrible, vicious cycle. We save lives, we respond to the emergency. 65 swift water rescues. Then we start to do the short-term recovery. And given that we're in monsoon season, this pattern repeats itself over and over again. And you can lose hope in a pattern like that. The people of Ruidoso and the leadership here don't ever do that. So I have a three-part job here. One is to tell this entire community how sorry we are. Two, the children, the adult gentlemen that you've lost in this community, unfathomable, unfair, and is the worst of these kinds of disasters. More Americans are lost post-fires in flooding. This is the most dangerous part of both the short-term and the long-term recovery. And you have now suffered those losses. My condolences on behalf of the whole state to that family. I wish the father a speedy, full recovery, and to his wife, who is supporting that journey, her own emotional journeys. These losses are lifelong, and there are no words that can take away that devastation. But we are truly heartsick and sorry. Two, there are other losses in this community. The number one job is to assess those losses right now, to get every business, big and small, back on its feet to the highest possible return we can, and to give resources in that design. And third, and it's parallel to that, is to get the silt out again, is to manage and mitigate the damages, to protect us from more water that is coming, and to be able to do those in a parallel so that people feel like their lives are getting back on track. Now, how do I know that we can get all of that done, given that we believe it's going to rain tomorrow? A couple of reasons. One, the federal government has directly reached out. That is incredibly important and very valuable. It's as important as having your governor here, your lieutenant governor, your congressional delegation, the general of the New Mexico National Guard, because your local leaders haven't slept, nor should they, but they haven't. They've been on the ground doing the work every minute of every day. And what they deserve is a team coming in telling you that whatever you ask for, whatever you need, whatever we can and should do, will get done. Well, the federal government should do that too. The larger part of the resources will come from the federal government. Secretary Nome from the Homeland Security is, I think, intending on coming to this community. That says a lot. 2, is really clear about money that was never received by the community that should have been. That's $12 million. That helps us do all the rest of the levee work that really needed to be in place because of the amount of water and how fast it moves coming off those burn scars. We want to make sure that you've got wastewater treatment system that's secure. We want to make sure you got clean drinking water. We want to make sure that we're developing and garnering resources for individuals and families. All of it. She's also assured us that they are now fronting money, which is not something that FEMA does particularly. It's all based on reimbursements. We got to figure it out, then they reimburse us. It says a lot to me as a governor that the federal administration is putting money out here, out front. And we threw around a number. It's not a number that we know for sure yet. So I make sure I'm saying that. It's not, I don't have it in writing and I don't have the check. But they're making the kind of outward, right, commitments that are very valuable of about $3 million. That's $15 million quick. When I mean quick, I expect them to hand me a check in an airport somewhere. I'm teasing. As you know, it'll all get wired. I promise I'm not that old. But we will get resources really moving quickly. That's $15 million from the federal government quick. The reason that happens is the congressional delegation have been on the phones and in the offices of our counterparts at the federal level. And I just want to personally thank you for making sure that happened. As a result, we expect the federal declaration to be signed shortly, today. Until it's signed, we're all guessing. But all of those kinds of early, quick commitments certainly are telling about the intent of the federal government to declare a national emergency so that we get all the other resources that come to continue to help us today, tomorrow, and for whatever the weather brings over the next several days, weeks, and months ahead. And the last thing I want to tell you is that I work with a lot of communities. And there isn't a community in New Mexico where New Mexicans are not resilient and incredibly strong. They're proud of who they are and where they live. They accept any of those kinds of risks, and they just literally, with positivity, power through. But in addition to that, which you have in spades here, you need local governments that can do the work. And not everyone is in a situation where that readily comes. Working with Mayor Crawford in particular, and working with your county and your first responders, your electeds and local officials. The contractors are here. The expertise is here. They have this emergency operations center. They are already, before we get on the ground from the state, assessing damages so that they can do the declaration. They have contracts in place. This team is a team I actually go to train other communities to respond to their disasters. That is not how it is. It should be. The gold standard here in Ruidoso ought to be the standard in every single community, and we should dedicate our work to making sure they all get there. But I want this community to know. I mean, we're all raw. No one rawer than the people who witnessed it, who lived here, who lost their homes, who lost their properties, and who can't go to work and whose businesses are not yet open. No one suffering in that regard. Not the same. But when we are on the ground and see that stuff is already happening and getting cleaned up and getting reopened, it is an incredible sign of the kind of recovery that's possible. And this is my last thing. I've spoken way too long. While we're all grieving, I need to make sure, and I feel like I've got that from the mayor in particular in the county. There are opportunities here. We have to think about not just this weekend and the following weeks. We need to think about the next decade or two. And we need to think about the opportunities that are here because of the people who live here. And we need to lean in and invest in every single one of those opportunities. And you have my commitment to make sure that the state components, that we meet every commitment and we do everything in our power to not just rebuild, but to create opportunities for your families for the next several generations. Thank you for having me today. And with that, I would like to ask the Lieutenant Governor, Howie Morales, to also share a few words, and I can leave the box for you too. Okay.
And first of all, I'd like to begin by saying thank you, as the governor mentioned, to our city officials. Mayor, thank you for the communication yesterday. Our county commissioners, all of our first responders, our law enforcement professionals, our National Guard, who never hesitates to be ready for the call when it comes. So we're grateful for that. You know, when we see the impact that it has to us here in the state, it goes far beyond that. I just received a newspaper article in Argentina talking about the impact that is what has happened here in Ruidoso. And while we see that we've, in many ways, have had to deal with this, whether it's flooding or fires that happen in the northeast part of the state, whether it took place in Doña County or here in Ruidoso, we've had to work all too often to deal with these type of emergencies. And I just have to say that I'm extremely grateful, and the governor gave a lot of credit to a lot of people, but I want to take time to specifically say thank you, Governor.
So there you have it. We just heard from our Democratic governor in New Mexico, Lujan Grisham, and she said a lot about what is going on in Ruidoso. So let's recap a little bit about what we just heard. Right now we're listening to the Lieutenant Governor right there, but basically Governor Lujan Grisham has just said that the talks that she's had with the federal government, it looks like Secretary Noam is intending on coming to Ruidoso, is what she said, and the government is promising to give them the money that they were promised from the previous disaster. They had requested $12 million, and according to Grisham, it looks like that money could be coming to Ruidoso. Now, the federal administration says that they're also funding it all up front, meaning Lujan Grisham just said that usually what happens is they'll have to flip the bill first and then they'll get reimbursed. But she is now saying, the governor is now saying that the federal government is promising to upfront this money. And Governor Lujan Grisham has said that she asked the government for this particular disaster $3 million, and they're hoping for a total of $15 million from the previous money that they were promised from the previous disaster, plus this one equals $15 million. The governor does say that nothing is set in stone, so she does not want to go on record saying this is how much they're getting, but it looks like these are in talks, and the disaster declaration is expected to be signed later on today. So the governor says that potentially Ruidoso could be receiving $15 million to help with the loss and everything that has happened. Now, as far as some stats that we learned from county officials, the mayor, basically what is going on is they've assessed 200 to 400 homes damaged. That means we're looking at about 100 to 150 families impacted from this natural disaster that we have seen in the last couple of days. Now, here's something important to note. So if you have any family members out there, or you yourself have a home that has been impacted, they are saying do not start rebuilding just yet. Don't do it. Call the hotline number, and they provided us the hotline number, of course. We're going to have that on our website, but I'll give it to you now. It is 575-258-6901. This is basically going to help with the funding resources. So these officials are saying if you've been impacted, if you need anything, call this hotline number. It could be anything from needing water, needing clothing, needing anything. They'll help you with this. Also, if you want to start rebuilding, don't do it yet. Call this number first, tell them what is going on, so that could be incorporated into the funding that is expected to come in from the federal government. Another thing to note is that meteorologists are predicting more storms tonight, tomorrow, and in the coming days. And it just takes one storm to come down in the burn scar to create the scenario that we're seeing right now on our screen. So it is very, very devastating right now. There's a lot of help that is being needed, and a lot of people are ready to do so. Another thing that was also mentioned is that Lincoln County Humane Society, they are ready to take your donations. One thing they emphasized is do not donate used clothing. Right now, they're not accepting any used clothing. They are definitely accepting new clothing, any kind of perishable, non-perishable items that you can donate, anything that you can give new. As far as monetary donations, they say they will, of course, give us information for that. And the community center in Ruidoso is ready to open their doors for anyone who needs help. So a lot of information coming down right now. Governor Lujan Grisham also gave her deepest, most sincerest condolences for the loss of the children that we just mentioned, the 4- and 7-year-old children who lost their lives, and the man who also passed away. So she also gave condolences for that. And she says that the priority right now is to assess the loss and to help small businesses and big businesses alike to get up and running, to get Ruidoso back on its feet. So a lot going on. We're, of course, going to be keeping a very close eye on exactly when the funding would be coming for Ruidoso, when Secretary Noam would be making a visit, if she is going to be making a visit to Ruidoso, and when the funding would come in. So, of course, all of this will be up on our website throughout the day, and we'll be keeping a very close eye on what officials are doing in Ruidoso to help those families who have lost homes, who have lost lives, just get back on their feet and keep moving forward. Of course, we'll be keeping you updated throughout the entire day. For now, this is Monica Cortez. Thank you so much for joining this live broadcast.